Hi. So I'm making this video because I want this sport to be really accessible by everyone, and in terms of training equipment, entry-level stuff is really expensive. Really expensive. So I'm going to try and show you guys how to make training tools for like near free. It is going to require some hard rubbish collection, bit of rummaging around the shed, but for it you're going to need some PVC and some sort of strapping material, some sort of belt, something that doesn't cut into your hand when you like wrap it around your hand and squeeze. It doesn't like cut in. That's what you want. And for tools, you're gonna need a drill. And that's about it. Yeah, so I've made a multi-spinner. I use this to train all the time. It's one of Devon Leverrett's favorite things. But yeah, it's about this thick. Where's my tape measure? I don't have my tape measure, but I can put measurements later, I suppose. And one of my favoritist tools to train with is one of these, a winding handle. These are essential. These are phenomenal, fantastic. And lastly, one of these. This is a rolling handle with bearings. So those three for near free. So I say free. What I mean is really cheap, really cheap. It can be free if you already have the bits lying around, and you probably do. Like I got this off an old bag. I've got just straps and belts and stuff lying around. And you can buy all this stuff from Bunnings for pretty cheap if you have to buy it all fresh. But yeah, making this with the goal in mind of keeping, you know, training tools really accessible, and really this is all you really need. Just winding, rolling, multi-spinner. And you can use this like wrapped as well, and you can use it unwrapped like this, which is really hard to use. So I'll show you guys how to set that up later. So yeah, anyway, first thing, 2 pieces of PVC. I'm going to drill 3 holes. So I'm going to turn this into the winding handle, and I'm going to turn this into the multi-spinner. So for the multi-spinner, this is probably a good length. So the goal in mind is you want enough space above and below your hand to wrap the strap. That's about it. So this one's pretty good. It could be a little bit longer. I made this one a little while ago. The strap is too close to the top, because if I put my thumb over the top of it like this, there's like barely any space for me to wrap this strap. So, and this is an old luggage strap. I didn't like, yeah, this is comfy. Basically, you just want a strap where if you tie it up and you squeeze, it doesn't cut into your webbing there. If it cuts there, like it doesn't compress very easily this way, it's gonna suck when you start putting heavy weight on it and it starts compressing shit, and it's just compressing stuff. So it's just not a fun time. So anyway, I'm going to cut this up a little bit. So winding handle, I probably want it maybe about here. I'm not going to take much off, just a little bit. So I've trimmed a little bit off the end of this. You don't want it too wide, because otherwise it's just going to be unwieldy and like let's start smacking into stuff as you're using it. But you don't want it too narrow, because when you start winding it up, because the strap is focused on a single point, the more you wind it up, the closer it's going to get to your hand, and it's just going to get in the way and be a bit uncomfortable. So yeah, I'm going to drill 2 holes in this, not all the way through. They don't have to be perfect, but most PVC's got this writing that you can line up with. So maybe just a thumb's width from the top. Try my best not to roll on, just like that. 2 little holes. You can go all the way through. I prefer not to. My preference is this style here, where it's just attached on one side. You can get ones like this from Arm Assassins that have got the strap here, and so you can actually support the back of your hand like this. It's cool like this, it's all good. It doesn't train your fingers very much. You can sort of keep your fingers loose and work your wrist, which is fine, but if you go to wind it up, I find that this strap inevitably gets in the way. You're going to be holding onto it, and then you get a lack of traction somewhere. So I just find it irritating. So I don't use them too much. Holes on one side, that's it. And then we're going to take our miscellaneous strapping, figure out how far away you want it. Probably about there, so it's probably about 1 meter halved, so about half a meter away, 1 meter of strap, which is about there. So roll it up and shove it through. Forgot a step. You want this to have grip on it. So get yourself some sandpaper, ideally like rough, like 20 grit, 40 grit, something really, really, really rough. I've only got, what is this, 600 grit. So this isn't going to be incredibly useful, but basically you want the scrapes to be running the length of the PVC, and so you can use sandpaper or like rub it against a brick wall, like just scrape it up somehow. I think I used an angle grinder on here. There's something I made that I never use, but if you can see on there, just scrape it up real good so that there's like grip to it. You can't slip on it. So anyway, other option being just some strapping tape, just for, you know, tendinitis and various other injuries that require strapping. This makes really good grip tape. It's not too rough on your hands. So let's put some of this on there. So you can do both, or you can just scrape it up, or you can just strap it. I think my preference is a bit of both, to be honest. It doesn't really matter, just as long as there's friction between your hand and the PVC. Yeah, so about there. So now that's not going anywhere. So back to where we were before. Poke the strap through. Having a set of pliers here is helpful, but not necessary. Probably more helpful with the multi-spinner, just because the hole's going to be a little further down the pipe, and so it'll be hard to get on. My fat fingers won't get in there. And just put a put a knot in here. There you go. If you've accidentally made the hole too big, tie something through that. A stick, a bolt, a nail, something, just so it doesn't go through. Now we're going to do this to the other side. My thumb's all crampy from training on Wednesday, so a little hard to work with. go, another knot here. And make them tight, but they'll tighten up the more you use it. And there we go. Made a wrist wrench. I say for free because I didn't buy any of this today. But like, this is an old aquarium decoration. I bought this for something else. But there we go, wrist wrench. So what you do is you wind this up like this. So it's trying to unpeel your wrist. And yeah, hook this up with a carabiner. Really the only two things you need to spend good money on, not even good money, you need to spend money on carabiners. You're going to need some, that's just how it works. And you need to spend good money on an arm wrestling strap. That's probably the only thing that I have struggled to make myself, is a good strap. You can buy like this sort of stuff, like straps and carabiners from hardware stores. They're not the same. Like, this is from Arm Assassins. It's really good. Bowen sells a good one. Lion straps sell a good one. Lion straps are really good, but you need like some sort of competition grade, comfortable arm wrestling strap. But yeah, there we go. Tool number one, a winding handle. Alright, number two, very similar to number one. So I'm going to grab this in the middle and then put a hole. It's going to be just above where my thumb is going to be. So it's going to be in there. And you got to keep in mind that you need to be able to wrap whatever belt you've got easily around both sides of your fist. So I'm going to use this strap here. So how can we measure this? Probably hold it with your thumb there, and then Devin Larratt's got 1,000,001 tutorials on how to wrap a multi-spinner. It's his favourite thing in the whole wide world. That and pancakes. But the way I wrap it is, so on the top, it's going to go underneath and then over like that. So it's 2 connection points down the bottom, and then it's out of the top of my hand like this, or vice versa. But just hold it there with your thumb so you get an idea of how long it needs to be. And then the carabiner is probably going to be about that far away. I've got mine, you can adjust how far away the carabiner is, you just tie it further up, it's fine. But yeah, I'd probably start with, again, about a meter and a bit. I can measure this later, but no, actually, I can measure it now. It is, so it's going to be slightly longer than the winding handle, not by much though. So again, hold it in the middle, aim for about where your thumb's going to be, and then leave enough space above your thumb for the strap to go. So for me, that's going to be pretty much bang on that N there. So, grip less important on these because you're tied in, but still helpful. And I don't trust that buckle, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'll probably just tie a knot in it anyway, but so that means I'm going to have to go like this. Should have mentioned, it doesn't really matter how comfortable the strap is for this. Doesn't matter, because this isn't going to be touching your hand. Ideally, this is never going to be touching your hand. So it doesn't matter if it is, you can use a rope or a cable, doesn't matter. This, it's going to be wrapping around your hand, so it needs to be, it's got to have some give to it. It's got to be relatively comfortable. Alright. I have once again made the hole a bit too small here. That's alright, it's workable. So, once again, a little knot in the end to stop it from coming out. And there we go, that's all set on the inside, that's not going anywhere. And then, find yourself a carabiner. It's just spare one. Just like that. And there's a multi-spinner. Again, practically free. So that's 2 out of 3. Third handle that we're going to try and emulate. This isn't free, but these are really expensive. Really expensive. They're lovely, like high quality stuff. This one's Grip Genie one. Can't rate it highly enough. So comfortable, robust, on bearings. It's wonderful, but you know, not readily accessible for a student or a kid just starting out in the sport. You know, ask your parents for a Christmas present or something. So, what we're going to do is, well, assuming that you have access to one of these standard cable handle from the gym, and don't steal them. don't steal it. But when you're at the gym, acquire yourself Fatgripz. These things, you can get these for real cheap, just knockoff imitation ones from eBay, and this is the real proper one. This is one of their immensely thick ones, but just get this, pop this on here like so, and I think I got a pair of these for about 20 bucks, and it's not perfect, but that will give you a nice rolling handle to train with. So there you go. Around to find some scraps. This is just scrap. Cannot emphasize enough that you truly don't need to buy this stuff. Have a look around your parents' garage, have a look in your garage, have a look out in hard rubbish, but just have a dig, and you can make your own arm wrestling tools. And so I can figure out some pricing later on as to how much money this saves you. Did some digging. 2 websites that I found that I have bought arm wrestling gear off in the past, and it's all high quality stuff. I really do think you should support arm wrestling related business where you can. But yeah, this video is for the budget conscious. So 2 websites for a multi-spinner and a wrist wrench and an arm wrestling strap. It's going to cost between 130 and 150 Australian. For a rolling handle, it's going to cost between 150 and 250 Australian. So minimum cost is, quick maths, 130, 100, 150, looking at $280 at most, nearly $400 for all these basic sort of handles. So yeah, if you buy Fatgripz to emulate a rolling handle at the gym, Fatgripz on a cable attachment, that's going to cost you 20 bucks. Knockoff ones from eBay. And the hardware is going to run you about $20 to $30 if you can't find any PVC or belts anywhere. Which, look, I'm sure I've said it so many times in the video. I'm sure that they're around. You can use a stick. It doesn't even have to be a pipe. You can use a stick and drill holes through it. But yeah, that's how much it costs. Saving, so what is $50 total for the PVC, the belts, and the Fatgripz, or like you're saving north of $300, which is, you know, pretty notable. So yeah, I'm sure you're smart. You can figure out how to use these properly, but my preference. So again, for this one, if you tie a knot up here in the middle and try and get it in the middle, it's a nightmare if it's not centered, but if you tie a knot up here in the middle, so wind it up. You see, the further out it is, the more you can wind this before it starts like running into your fingers and being a bit irritating. So just that much. Doesn't have to be wound up to here, just enough to want it to spin out of your hand, and then just drag, wrist curls, all that good stuff. But if you want to make this harder, put the rotation on one side of your hand, unwind it from one side. So the top one is loose and the bottom one is tight. And then much harder, have to use supination, ulnar deviation and cup, compared to just straight up wrist flexion. Yeah, and same for the top as well. This is really difficult to use. Good training. Good, yeah, good. And same with the multi-spinner. But basically, for a low grip, I'm going to start with the strap high, put the strap over the back of my hand, underneath, and then over the back of my hand again, and over the top. Okay, so it's wrapped around my hand twice, nice big loop around the bottom, and it's going to require wrist flexion, radial deviation, and pronation to try and keep this thing upright. That's a multi-spinner. That's the gold standard. Try and make a little pocket with your hand. Like, don't like hold it with it all in contact with your hand. Try and make a pocket like this, here, there. And that's just a little bit harder. It's still a bit jacked up from training. But there. And again, with this one, same as the wrist wrench, you can just wind it up down the bottom and use it as, I can't even move that. No. So there. And yes, spend good money on a strap. These two are really cheap, hard rubbish, garage. Can't emphasize enough, you shouldn't have to spend too much money on basic sort of training handles. And last thing, judo belt. Judo belt with a knot in the end is for all your nice, static, isometric, even your table work. Nice, comfy judo belt. This very important. Can't stress this enough. So this, eBay, Amazon, real cheap. This, reputable site, something that you're gonna spend good money on this. Get together with your mates, cut down on postage. These are cheap. And that's all you need. I hope that was helpful. Thanks.